The Avenue.
The events in Ferguson, Missouri are shocking, but sadly not surprising. For those that don't know, Michael Brown, an unarmed black teen, was murdered by a police officer. While we don't yet know all of the details, what we do know from multiple eyewitness testimony is that Michael had his hands in the air on the ground, and the officer shot him anyway. More on that in a minute. But first, let me say this message. Don't loot. Don't riot, because when you do that, you give the people who are too cowardly to discuss the issue justification to ignore it altogether. And speaking of ignoring, it really bothers me when I hear these people who say in response to the Michael Brown tragedy, well, what about black on black crime? That tells me that you don't give a damn about this situation. Yes, black on black crime is a very serious issue and it should be dealt with. But it has nothing to do with this particular issue and is nothing more than a blatant attempt to change the subject. And I get it. If you're forced to acknowledge the fact that while not as prevalent as in years past, that racism still exists, if you concede that, then morality and decency in the God many of you claim to believe in requires you to take action. But in order to ignore your civic duty, you must pretend that the problem doesn't exist. Look, I understand the desire of those who want to stop talking about race. I don't like talking about it either. Which one do you think is more enjoyable? Talking about Miley Cyrus and Justin Bieber and crazy news stories from Doug, or a murdered black teen? But there are some things that are so egregious, so outrageous, so contrary to the things that we claim to believe in that it would be a dereliction of duty to stay silent. If we all want peace and harmony, we must address these issues. Because after all, how can we live in peace and harmony when there's still even a debate about whether it's okay for a police officer to shoot an unarmed black teen who had his hands in the air? Welcome to
Well,
Jump
generally,
In.
People are going to respond and say, well, you're right. Black on black crime. And it is a distraction. That really isn't the issue at play here. The question is, are you jumping to conclusions that he was murdered by this cop? Now, there are eyewitnesses, but we don't know all the stories.
Well,
all
he's
the
not
facts
breathing
yet.
anymore.
Well, that's true. We don't know all the facts yet. So,
Mr. Cato?
Well, he's not breathing anymore. I think that this is we're reaching a point of critical mass, and if we're not careful, we're going to find ourselves in dire straits in more ways than one. First and foremost, it is open season on the Ugly Duckling on the Saxon hunting grounds here in America. It always has been. It seems that it always will be. And not for a lack of a transformation of the character of the country. To and fro my journeys daily, I find that there are fantastic, lovable, adorable little white people with precious hearts that intend to do good towards themselves and others, no matter what somebody's color, creed, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But I do find people who defend their hidden racism by challenging things with what you said, with by challenging arguments with things that have nothing to do with them, like black on black crime. By the way, since you would like to mention black on black crime, maybe you could be the one to come up with a solution to it. Possibly helping to institute, counseling for free, traumatic PTSD. Maybe you could figure out some ways to find for the disenfranchised some financial opportunities or some instruction with all that great learning that you had from your university or college institution and all your professional experience. Share that wisdom and wealth. You could even help to do some programs gratis for the community.
Well, there are layers to that. And you're exactly right. Education, financial opportunities, there are issues there. But in this case, all right, staying on this tree, not the whole forest.
Well, I worked my way back around to it. In this tree, I actually just was recently run upon by the beautiful people of North Randall.
Oh, no.
8 police officers, 1 me in my book bag.
How many?
And even when I was on the ground with my hands in the air like I just don't care.
You were walking while black or what?
I was not walking while black. This actually was on the heels of a prank that I did to a friend of mine.
Oh, no.
And they called the police. Yes. And the police, that was all fine. That was all well and good. It was the fact that when they showed up, they had arms drawn and I could not see for the flashing lights in front of my face what was going on as I was being told to step towards the cop with his weapon pulled. And not able to see his buddy that's off my periphery that got his weapon pulled, as 5 other guys came up with their weapons pulled. And while I'm on my knees and I'm telling them, look, I'm friends. My friends say, yeah, that's our friend. It's cool. This guy is running up with a shotgun that he's cocking.
Well, it goes without saying that's an absolutely terrible situation. And you need to get back get the facts. You need to get to the bottom of the story. There's right now so much information that's crisscrossing. I mean, there's information coming out that they're saying the first shot was fired in a car, but then the eyewitnesses are saying it was out on the street, and the FBI is now getting involved to get to the bottom of it. And that's the thing too, with all of the protesting, like you said, the protesting and the looting, none of that is going to make the situation better. And it's one of those things where you sit there and you see on the Twitter feeds everyone saying, oh, the police are, abusing their power. Granted, I don't understand why they have tanks and full riot gear and all that. I understand why they have it, but why it's being used in this situation. But then, CNN just reported that the protesters are throwing Molotov cocktails. If you are throwing Molotov cocktails at a police officer, they are going to put their riot gear on. That's the thing true. Of just, it's the tensions are so high, the emotions are so high. Everyone needs to step back. And I think I want to say it was Michael's uncle that got on, because they went ahead and they completely looted the store of the store where the footage was shown that he allegedly robbed prior to this entire incident. And his uncle and the owner of the store were filmed for local TV together. And the uncle said, you looting this man does not help this situation. You going out and protesting does not help this case. Stop. And I think that's really what it is everyone needs to step back, because it's a tragic, terrible situation. But you got to get to the facts. And, it's one thing to clearly be able to exercise your right to assemble and protest and, but peacefully. And that's the thing I think right now with all the violence on both sides, it's an ugly situation. That's not going to make anything any better.
Maybe we should reach out and hug police officers more, or shake their hands, or buy them coffee or a sandwich. Definitely we should shout out the ones that are doing their job in excellent fashion, taking care of the community. But maybe we need more love, and that way we can call for peace among each other.
Hear it all on the Avenue, 9 o'clock on Sundays on AM 1420. The Answer.